Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Welcome, survivors. This is Eerie Knight of the Pseudo Posse, and today's topic of discussion will be focused on loot bag collectors. Pretty much all designs I've seen generally use electricity in the form of garage doors, regular doors, things of that nature. Which is nice and all, but that doesn't bode well for the early game player or for someone not focusing on electricity and traps in their character build. So my goal for this video was to find a low-tech option involving no electricity, no doors, and can function as a reliable collector of the multicolored loot bags. Without further ado, let's dive into it. On the outset of making this video, I wasn't entirely sure where I would start. That's when I had a eureka moment. In one of my earlier videos back in Alpha 21, I constructed this slide where zombies climb up ladders, over the top, and slide down to try and land on the pillars running across to the player's position. Zombies see the slide as a path and still do as of version 2.4. So I think a similar, but much simpler version of this design is a good starting point. If we can kill and knock zombies into the slide, hopefully the loot bags can slide down into a secure location. Unlike the original slide design, this one needs to set a bit higher from the ground to make room for our loot collector room. We'll begin by building a cube wall like 4 or 5 blocks high. On top of that wall, we will place a wedge narrow high block across the entire span. Follow that up with a wedge narrow middle, then a wedge narrow low, and last but not least, a wedge narrow tip. Behind the tip, you'll need to place more cubes so that you can place another wedge narrow high on top to repeat the entire pattern. Up to you how high you wish to go, but keep in mind, ideally you'd like this drop height from the pillar pathway off the slide to the loot collector region to be an adequate drop height of around 15 blocks to prevent destroy area or rage mode. For the purposes of demonstration, I'll keep it smaller than that just to keep everything in view, but I highly recommend meeting the height requirement. I am also going to opt for ladders in the back to save on materials, but you could absolutely do stairs if you want a better way to handle the doggos. The slide definitely works on them too, so no reason to discriminate aside from being lazy and not building a tall staircase, like yours truly right here. But for testing out loot collector designs, we don't need the robustness of stairs. And keeping within the spirit of keeping it simple, I want to validate that this path is going to work before we get too far into it. So I'm going to plop down a single row of pillar 0.05 meter middle shapes and connect that to some cubes. Then I shall plop myself down on top and spawn a biker dude. And look at that. Not only does he follow the path, but he left us a little gift too. FYI, I did bump up the loot bag drop rate considerably for this video to really test out the designs thoroughly. As such, you'll see plenty more of where that came from. Now that our proof of concept is good, let's restructure the test setup and extend the pillars out an extra block, and we'll prevent zombies simply landing on our platform by barricading it with cube 7 meter round catwalk rails only 0-1 shape. Feel free to substitute the barricade shape and the pillars with your own blocks, as that won't be important to the part of the loot collector. The first key component is the slide itself, and the next key component is anyone's guess at this point. Since some unkilled zombies will reach the bottom of the slide along with our loot bags, we need a way to keep the zombies out and loot bags inside. Well, at least as much as possible. Thus our goal is to find a shape that will let loot bags pass through while blocking most if not all zombies. I'll try simple cube halves for the first test. The hope is that the narrow gap will serve our purposes by keeping zombies out and loot bags in. A single row of the cube halves followed by a row of full cubes. And first zombie slips through the hole. Perfect start. After some more testing, we also see that loot bags can fall through as well, except not all loot bags. One of them happened to land on top of the cube half block. To try at least solving the loot bag getting stuck problem, I extended the cube halves by 2 additional rows and repeated the test. Not to be punny, but it was a mixed bag. Loot bags still get stuck periodically, and while frequently zombies didn't fall through the cracks, they periodically did. That could potentially be mitigated, but the fact that loot bags don't collect in our loot bag collector is a non-starter. Clearly the cube half isn't cutting it. What if I were to replace the cube half with ramp 6 meter 04 shape? I know from experience this shape is too thick to allow zombies to slip on through, but what about the bags? Well, as it turns out, I didn't really get to find out as they continued to mostly land on top of the flat part of the shape. Considering the shape was too wide, perhaps the ramp 6 meter 03 shape will fare a little better. I definitely see more bags falling through, which is good, but zombies seem to fall through as well, which is not so good. So far it seems that if a bag can fall through, so can a zombie. That doesn't bode well, but I am determined to find something that will work. I think it is time to move away from the wedge-shaped blocks. Shapes like the ramp or wedge 60 are no good because they create no gap, and shapes like the ramp 6 meter we already tried, but the issue with those is the bag can simply fall on top and not hit the inclined part. Upon searching through other shape categories, I spotted the pole cross centered and pole cross. Essentially, both shapes are the same, each having a different position within the voxel volume, and the shapes worked reasonably well. Many zombies are blocked from falling through, but here and there you'll get one that slips past. 7 Days to Die has long had a history of block flipping issues, so even if a shape under normal circumstances would prevent an entity from phasing through it, does not mean that it'll hold up against a zombie falling at a fast speed down the slide and won't somehow glitch through. As for the other side of the equation, the loot bags perform pretty decently. Yes, a percentage of them still land on top of the shape, but as additional zombies fall, they can get pushed into the holes. We could stop here and make this block work, but I'd like to find something that can keep the rate of zombies falling through low, but increase the chance of loot bags falling inside. One little feature I did add during my testing was placing an additional row of wedge narrows over the shape, serving as the filter for the loot bag collector. Reason being, the gap on the very edge of the slide is too small for a bag to fit through, so any bag shoved there will get stuck. The addition of this block helps to push bags away from the wall. I opted to try the pole 4-way next. It has a slightly bigger hole than the pole cross, so I figured it was worth a try. Loot bags fell through the holes with incredible ease. Unfortunately, zombies could as well. I did try to put additional shapes over the pole 4-way to try and prevent zombies from falling through, but that just prevented the loot bags from dropping as well. The search continued and continued, and if I showed every block I tested, this video would be way too long. In short, I could not find a shape that would 100% block zombies while allowing all loot bags to easily drop through, and all shapes that would allow loot bags to drop also allowed zombies to drop in varying degrees, some better and some worse. After getting a little creative with what blocks I tried, I happened to settle on the arch curve keystone bottom, a shape I have never discussed on this channel and is probably one completely overlooked by the community at large. Similar to the pole cross, loot bags can get stuck on top, but zombies will frequently knock them through the holes, and because the regions around the centered holes are inclined, they tend to get forced within a hole, in prime position to get gently nudged inside. Also similar to the pole cross, a zombie can every so often glitch through. Most zombies don't, but on occasion it happens. Based on all my testing, there doesn't seem to be any shape that can completely block zombies while allowing loot bags to enter. I don't think it likely at this point that there is a shape that can do this, though perhaps among the couple thousand of available shapes, one magical shape has this property, though that seems quite elusive. Ultimately, the issue of entities clipping through blocks is an issue that exists across the board, so I think this is about as good as we'll get given this condition. After all this testing, I think the most basic loot collector design would look something like this, and feel free to use the pole cross instead of the arch curve keystone bottom shape. In my opinion, the arch works a bit better, but to each his own, or something. First thing you'll want to do is block off the sides, and as a friendly reminder, you'll also want to make the drop distance from the pillars to the top surface of the loot bag collector around 15 blocks to prevent excess damage from zombie rage. Because an occasional zombie or two can slip inside, the last thing we want is for them to just break out and potentially allow other zombies to come inside from the ground. To achieve this capability, I dug out a pit in the back of the loot collector and created an opening with some stairs and a platform extending over the pit. Zombies that fall inside will run up the stairs and off the platform onto solid ground, and zombies coming from the outside will not try to enter because the pit doesn't create a continuous path inside, and the raised platform sets 2 blocks high above the ground level, preventing any zombies from jumping in. All said and done, the design works pretty well and is quite easy to build. Your loot bags over time will collect in a safe area that can be retrieved after the horde. Yes, a single zombie will drop in on occasion uninvited, but they'll immediately leave, causing no damage to surrounding blocks. It would have been nice to find a shape to prevent them from dropping inside, but given how the block clipping bug exists, I'm not sure if that is 100% possible all of the time. Hopefully, this design can serve as inspiration for you builders out there to create the loot bag collector of your dreams. I think you could probably place this design under any zombie dropper or go the use of a slide altogether in the event a slide is not your style. The nice thing about the slide though is it creates a wall that naturally prevents loot bags from flying beyond the reaches of the collector. But if there's a will, there's a way. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, consider giving it the old thumbs up. It is the best way to support our channel, as the YouTube algorithm values those thumbs quite highly. And if you aren't already a member of the posse, come join our little community right now and tap the bell for notifications. Lastly, both Taco and I would like to extend our gratitude towards our amazing Patreon members whose generosity keeps the channel afloat. On that note, this is Eerie Knight signing off. See you all in the next one.